Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Business Spotlight USA. Monica Gunderson here. It's my favorite time of the work week when I get to talk to business leaders and learn their journeys and their stories and what they're doing in the business world. And today I'm so excited to have Chris Bartley here from Waisman Biomanufacturing to tell us about his journey and Waisman Biomanufacturing. Good morning, Chris.
Morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. I had a stressful week last week, but I got lots of rest over the weekend, and I'm ready to go. Welcome
Awesome.
to Monday.
Hello, Monday, and we're going to have a lot of fun together. I'm really
Yeah,
excited to have our viewers hear about your journey, Chris. So, why don't you start us off telling us about your professional journey that led you to Weissman Biomanufacturing as the managing director?
absolutely. So I graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison with a molecular biology degree, and I have, for the most part, I have most of my career has been at the university. I have spent some time in private industry, but most of it has been here. About 18 years ago, in fact, almost to the day, I joined Waisman Biomanufacturing as a and was part of the manufacturing team. And in fact, I still laugh because when I applied for this job, I had to look up what we do is we make GMP biopharmaceuticals, and I had to look up what GMP was at the time. But now I have been here for 18 years. Again, I got started on the manufacturing team, and then a few years ago, I was promoted to operations director and oversaw that manufacturing team. And then a couple of years ago, now I became the managing director. And I will say, I think one of the things that's interesting is I don't have an advanced degree. A lot of people in my position have PhDs, and I think that really makes me unique. But I think the reason why they hired me is because I have those strong leadership skills. I find ways to get the tough stuff done, and a lot of the stuff we do is really kind of tough. Maybe we can get into that in a little bit. So that's the short version of my journey.
Yeah. So I also have a similar journey, I always say I took a alternative route from an education standpoint and being an adult learner. So when you think about that journey, what was your inside passion or your why that led you to um, being a great leader?
Um, so that is a fantastic question. So not only have I worked for the university for over 30 years now, I went to school here, and I always had a passion for research. But originally, when I came here, I wanted to be a biology teacher. That was my original drive when in high school. I had a great biology teacher, and but I will say to get so a while ago now, again, I've been here for a while, but a while ago now, to graduate in the School of Education, you had to have a 4.0. And I did not, I will say I did not have a 4.0. So, but my passion has always been to teach somebody else. And I think ultimately that's what makes me a good leader um, is I love seeing other people succeed in their journey and helping them do that. I love giving people the tools and the resources to succeed in whatever they're doing. But I do have that passion for research and molecular biology, and so the fit is right here. The fit is perfect.
Yeah. So with a perfect fit, help us understand what does your typical day look like? And and what's the behind the scenes that you help manage and direct?
At Waisman Biomanufacturing, we make early phase biopharmaceuticals. Everything that we make ends up in a vial like this, and it's intended for early phase human clinical trials. One of the things I love is that virtually all the work that we do is going to either save somebody's life or help improve them. We make vaccines and biotherapies. So, we talk about, when we talk about in the business world, and we talk about low or high volume, we have very low volume and with a very high return. So we end up doing about 10 to 15 projects a year, and each one is very different than the last one. Everything that we do is custom, and we like to say that we are creating collaborative partnerships with the clients that we bring in. So that's a long, maybe that's the beginning of a long answer, but my first answer is every day is different. Every day is just so different. But even with that, as managing director, I probably have more structure than just about anybody else here. And I will say a typical day is I come in and check my email. And in fact, one of the things I have to improve on is maybe putting a time limit on checking that email and put that in a box a little bit more and more. But going on from that email, then I am producing strategic. Currently, I'm writing this year's strategic plan for Waisman Biomanufacturing. I am identifying what resources that the directors on our director team need to get their job done as well as possible. But next week will be, so that's what I'm doing this week, and maybe in 2 weeks I'll probably be working on something totally different.
Well, that's what makes it exciting for you. And adaptability is so important, and having the ability, I always say, meet the business where the business is at the moment. So completely
Absolutely.
understand you need to do that. You mentioned your clients. Can you shed some light and tell us, a little bit about the client relationship, and who are your clients? Who do you work with?
Oh, that's a great question. So I will say we are on the university campus, and the original charge for Waisman Biomanufacturing was to help researchers on campus bring their ideas, give them a roadmap to take their ideas basically to the clinic. And the original plan was that 50% of our business would come out of the university. We have been around for about 22 years or so. Our first product was released about 22 years ago. And since then, we have discovered that that's not really the proper road for a sustainable business. So most of our business is coming outside of the university campus, but we still work with, the biotech sector in general. But from there, we work with other universities. We work with small biotech right here in Madison. And then from there, we work with larger biotech all across the country. And we do have we have a few international projects that we have done and are currently working on as well. So they really come from kind of everywhere, but we really rely on word of mouth. Probably the biggest thing that we do is we try to go to the right conferences. We try to bump into the right people. And if I had to say what is the number one way we get new clients, it's probably word of mouth. And right now we have very good name recognition, and that's a testament to the previous directors. And one of my jobs is to make sure that doesn't change. In fact, maybe even gets a little bit better. I'd like to see us get a little bit more name recognition right here on campus. I still bump into lots of researchers that don't know who we are, and we offer this service right on campus.
Yeah. Well, we like to always talk about the customer journey and loyalty. And so getting those raving fans and having it, where they're sharing your story for you is a great place to be. When
Yeah,
you share that, I am really curious about your team, and
sure.
who all is on your team, and within your organization.
Yeah, no, great question. So again, this is a biotech industry. And so it is, in the biotech world, we're set up very much like other organizations. We are a nonprofit, but we're a nonprofit business, but we operate very much like any other private industry. So I have 4 directors that report to me. My director team starts with business. So we have a business team. Of course, their job is to bring more business in. From there, we have our operations director that oversees all the manufacturing and assigns project managers to all those projects that come in. Once we make a project, or sorry, make a product, then that product is tested to make sure it is safe and effective under FDA guidelines. So that testing is done by our quality control group. And then when that is when they get done with all the testing, the entire project is reviewed by our quality assurance team and their director. So those are the four directors: business, operations, quality control, and quality assurance. So
Okay. And, with building a team of that size and that caliber,
yeah,
we love to talk about culture. And, as the
absolutely.
managing director, I'm sure this is one of the many hats that you wear. What can you share with viewers about your, your leadership and how it's applying to building a great culture?
Yeah. So I will say that the number one thing to me is that culture. Everything else falls into place. So I like to use the term organizational health. And so when I became director, this is the thing that I, in essence, this was forefront in my interview process, was basically to say how important organizational health is. And so what is that organizational health, or what's our culture? And the simplest way I can put our culture is that I tell people that we work hard, and we play hard, and we love each other. I mean, and that needs to come through, that we care about each other, because the work we do is extremely valuable. It can be stressful. Again, we are making products under FDA and FDA guidance, other federal guidance as well. And so it can be stressful. We have, like I said, every project is different. We have projects that can go overnight. We have a lot of weekend work. And so we want to make sure that we're flexible with those people that are putting in unusual hours. And so we want to just make sure that everybody feels appreciated. They have ownership. And another term I like to use is that my door is always open. And people will complain to me sometimes, because they're like, yeah, you say your door is always open, but your door's closed. It's closed right now. So with a sign that says, please do not disturb. But at the same time, I try to keep that door open as often as possible. And I really encourage people. I count on everybody coming back to me with feedback. We have 33 employees total. In fact, right now I'm putting this year's survey together to try to get feedback. But to be honest, that we do the survey because I feel like that's the requirement. I really prefer when people come into my office and say, hey, I just want to, you said this thing, I'm not sure what it means, or you said this thing and might have been interpreted the wrong way. Can we get clarity on that? Because I love working here and I want to make sure I understand where you want to go. And so climate to me is always kind of difficult to really kind of put in a box and fully define. So that's my attempt at telling you what climate is. But I really, ultimately it's communication. I really want people to be very open and comfortable with communicating. I want people's, we do evaluations twice a year. And I always tell people, if something negative shows up on your evaluation, that's a problem, because we should have been taught, like, the goal is to never have anything bad show up or negative show up on an evaluation. And I think it is actually pretty rare, because we work those things out way before we get to the evaluation period. So that's really critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Effective communication, can create so many misunderstandings, leading to conflict, and that clarity is so important. When you can do it real time, it creates great momentum within the team. So I'm glad you have your door open. I have to say to you, it's good for you to have your door closed sometimes so the team can figure some things out. But that is
Yes.
it's a great policy for them to know that you're there as their leader. So
Yeah,
that's great.
actually, can I comment on that? Do you mind? That's actually funny that you say that, because one of the things one of the things, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. I actually tell people, that I always tell people, like, be nice to me, but you should go and talk about me behind your back. If and we should be comfortable with letting out frustrations in the proper way. And if I mean, I do have, sometimes I have to make a decision that is, that's my role. I have to make a decision that's unpopular. I always have buy-in from the directors, but I can't necessarily get buy-in from 33 people right on every single decision. And I make decisions that are sometimes unpopular. And I actually tell people, go, if you need to complain about that, make sure you have the proper outlet. And then when you get the frustration out of the way, then come talk to me, and let's talk about it. Maybe I can convince you. But you are absolutely correct. Any facility or business that says all their people are happy all the time, probably not true.
Yes, absolutely, almost impossible, right? Or I would
Yes.
say, if there isn't, you might not be moving forward, right? Because everybody's super comfortable with where they're at.
Right.
Absolutely, but having the right outlets. I actually was just on a podcast or involved in a live training, and it was actually about co-creation, which is kind of what you're talking about, and how to foster great co-creation. And one of it was, and I think this is funny, it was, you got to let the barking dogs in. Like, do not let them, do
Yeah.
not feel like they can't be part of it, but definitely be a listener and let them get it all out, and then have
Yep.
a plan to move forward. So super
Yep.
important to include them. Well, you mentioned, clarity, and you mentioned the future a few times. Like, where do you see things going in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yes. That is a great question. It's a tricky question. So again, we are on the university campus, um, and I have university policy that I have to follow, but we are in a position where we could do more. We can do more work. We can foster some better relationships with some clients that where we cannot do the work because of our current size. So right now I'm actually trying to find inroads with the university over how do we expand. So I'm looking for space. I'm looking for other university partners that might help us in that. So, one of those is the chancellor's office. Another is WARF itself. Um, and there are places we can go, like Research Park. But we are very early in that conversation. And I do have employees that come to me now and say that they struggle because of the size that we're at. But the biotech world is booming right now, and so um, that that initiative to we need to be looking at that 3 to 5 years, because in 10 years from now, we can't be here doing the same kind of work that we're doing now. And so, yeah, let's put it this way. One of the best lines that I've heard, and I'm sure this is from a famous book that I just haven't read yet, but when is the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago, right? When is the second time to plant a tree? Right now. And so that's what I'm trying to do. So you talk about strategic plans, and we need to be thinking about the future, and in 10 years from now, it's going to be too late to plant that tree. We need to plant it now and start those discussions over how do we serve the university community even better, and in a way that they can leverage us to bring in the best faculty and the best graduate students, and et cetera, et cetera. So sorry, that's a long answer, but I get very passionate about what the future holds. I'll leave it there.
Well, that destination and having it as a GPS is so important. And I couldn't agree with you with,
Yeah.
the industry that you're in, and, things that are happening. We don't need to go down the AI conversation, but the world is just speeding up, right?
Yes.
And so, that idea of 10 years is going to come faster than 10 years in comparison to the past as well. And so I like that you have a GPS and you're starting to create your path to get there, or you're creating your destination to start your GPS to get there. So That's great.
Absolutely.
Well, I would really like to jump into some power questions. These a little bit, Chris, are going to be a little bit about you, in
Okay.
regards to, what would you say is the key to success?
The key to success. Well, so to be honest, maybe I have a um well, I might have a 2 point, I might have a kind of a two-part answer. So I think I'd actually like this. So we've been talking about business, and that's obviously why we're here to talk about business. But I'm actually going to talk about my personal life just a little bit, and you open the door a little bit for that. So my whole life, I think one of the reasons why I have been successful is that I know my dad. It goes all the way back to my dad, who told me that I can be anything that I want to be. I can do whatever I want to do as long as there's a passion for it and you want it. And so I have lived my life that way. And so the way I get things done is I decide what I want to do, which are my passions, and then I go after them. And so before becoming managing director, I was actually a very accomplished triathlete and bike racer. And so now in the sports world, I'm very competitive, and in the sports world, you decide what your goals are and you go to do them. I have done Ironman. I have biked across the country in 22 days as part of a race. And you don't get those things done without going in with everything that you have and being passionate about it. And then so when we talk about what are the keys to success in what I do in business, to be honest, it's no different. So you go after the things, you go after those things that are most valuable to you, and that you have a passion for.
I had to write down the value. Values are so important. And Chris, I
Yeah.
have to share with you, I didn't learn about values till later in life. I mean, I was taught values, right? And to your point of your going back to with your dad and different things, but
Yep.
in regards to like truly defining them and going after them is absolutely a key to success in life and business. How it is today should be kind of integrated, right? I mean,
Yeah.
your business shouldn't be your life, but business should give you more life, but they're definitely
Yeah.
integrated for sure. Good.
Yes.
Second power question. What is Chris's favorite thing to do when he is not at work?
I still do a significant amount of biking. In fact, uh, any day now I will start biking to work and back on the right days. So that's about 20 miles each way. So I still do biking, but one of my newer passions is actually bushcraft. So I know, believe it or not. So for people who don't know what bushcraft is, this is basically survival in the wilderness with very few resources. And so there's bushcraft, and I love woodworking. Suddenly I'm carving spoons and bowls, and I just love working with my hands. So those are kind of my recent personal passions. So
Very cool. And is
very
is there
different.
like
Yeah.
a whole community that is doing bushcrafting? Like, do you have a community that you learn from and that you're joining? Do you do it together, or does everybody do it individually? Super curious.
That's a great question. So I do. So I will say I'm an expert because of YouTube. Maybe that's my shortest answer. So
Yep, yep.
I do not really practice this with anybody other than my wife. But so yeah, I'm not really part of a community that gets together, but I'm an expert because of YouTube, right? So
Yep. That's absolutely. YouTube is phenomenal for learning. So absolutely. And if I gave you a magic wand today that you would use in your business, what would you use that magic wand for?
So same thing. I guess I have two answers. One is we've talked about this a little bit. If I had a magic wand, I would upgrade our facility. And then part of that upgrade would be that expansion. But
Mhm.
that feels too superficial. If I had a magic wand, you know what, if I had a magic wand, and we talked about this too, if I had a magic wand, I would help the younger generation have courage to come into my office and talk to me more often. I do spend one of the things I think I'm successful at is going, getting on the floor, talking to people, talking to everybody that works here. But I can't do it all the time. And I remember what it's like to be 25 or 30. But I wish that generation, because they just bring in, we talk, I mean, diversity, inclusion is obviously a big topic, and the younger generation is bringing in such a unique perspective that it's something that, I mean, I have a 21-year-old daughter. She's about to be 22. And I love talking to her about to get her perspective. And so if I had a magic wand, I'd bring more people into my office more often, but I understand as well.
Yeah.
So.
I can relate with the children, and I learned so much. I'm so grateful I can learn from them that, the younger generations and what they're bringing into work environments and into the world is phenomenal. If you can keep an open
Yeah.
mind and see it as evolvement, and still
Yes.
sprinkle a little
Yes.
bit of what we bring to the table, right? And keep what our generations knew and do, keep it a little bit alive with them, but welcome their new thoughts and processes as well. So
Absolutely.
I agree. So how do people find you, Chris, and Waisman Biomanufacturing? How do
Yeah.
where should they look for you?
Yeah. So the easiest way to look for me is to go to our website, which is gmpbio.org. That is the easiest way for people that might be viewing this to find me. But I will maybe answer inversely, which is how do I find other people? And we've kind of talked about this a little bit, and that is name recognition. I spend a lot of my time just walking into, or making meetings with people on campus and making sure they know who we are, and just trying to keep that word of mouth. I think ultimately word of mouth is where our most powerful connections are made. But lots of people can find us online, of course. So
Okay, good. Just talk about it, right? It's amazing when we're communicating and connecting with others.
yeah.
It absolutely remains top. So we're gonna take a last question for the home run, for you to share with everyone. What most inspires you, Chris?
Um. Oh well, now the pressure is on. You said this. Sounds like I have to hit home run on this one. So what? What
Or a
I
single,
will.
it's
So
okay.
yeah. So I
We
will. So I
celebrate
will.
those too.
This this may not be where you're going, but I'd like to maybe I have a two-part answer on this one. What inspires me the most is really my family. I really, like, I love spending time with my family, and I have done some things in my life, um and going from bike accomplishments to being managing director, have all been family decisions. And my family has, to a degree, they have paid a price for some of the decisions that I've made. These are all family decisions. And so one of the things I do is I do everything in my power to, in essence, pay back what to them in any way I can. I do try to spend as much quality time with my family. But so that's the first part. But the second part, and it's a little bit more, maybe it's a little bit more self-serving, kind of goes to that drive. So I believe in bucket lists. I believe in, I believe in making that list of what people want to do in their lives, whether it's their career or their personal life, and then go after it with passion. I mean, I really do believe that, I very much believe that we should enjoy life to the fullest. And I think that I do. And so again, sometimes those things come at a price. You have to, if you have a set a big goal, then it's going to take a lot of time and effort. But the last thing I want to do is get to 60 or 70 or 80 and look back and said, and say, hey, I could have fill in the blank. I have to tell you, I have lived my life in such a way that I really have no regrets. I've made lots of mistakes. We haven't talked about any mistakes yet. I've made lots of mistakes in my life, but I honestly do not, I don't have a single regret. I really don't have a single regret because I've always gone after what I've wanted to go after. So there's my home run. Decide what your passion is and go after it with everything that you have.
You hit it out of the park.
Okay.
Living
Thanks.
bucket
Thanks,
list.
Monica.
I love, living bucket list. I love that idea. And I also have to say, the idea of, you said you've made a lot of mistakes, but you didn't look at them that way, right? They were just all stepping stones, right? And each one
Yep.
probably gave you a learning. And I think that takes away fear, to not achieve the things that you want to achieve, when you can look at all of those as their learning patterns and just work through them. So, Chris, it has been an absolute pleasure talking with you this morning. And anything that you would like to end the interview with before we say our till next times?
Yeah. No, I don't. I mean, I think I would extend the same. Thank you for this opportunity. It's actually been a pleasure getting to meeting you and getting to know you a little bit more. And I think I'm going to end up repeating myself that the only thing I can think of ending on is what I've just said, which is, right, go after your dreams. And if you don't know what they are, then take a week off and do nothing and find out what they are and go after them.
That's a great way to end it. Take a week off and write out your dreams. I love it, Chris. Such a pleasure. I will be disconnecting, and I look forward to reconnecting with you soon off camera. Thanks, Chris.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much.
Take care.